The highly anticipated Week 1 of the 2023 NFL season, it's behind us. It's the past. Yeah, it's done. It's finished. That means we must look ahead. We must move forward. And we must continue this journey of the NFL season. Week 2 is here. And it's time for the first power rankings of the 2023 NFL regular season. Looking at Week 1 and determining what really is the truth. Because there's a lot of overreaction from Week 1, always. So we must determine what's real, what's fake, what's a mirage, what we can actually hang our hat on entering Week 2. These are my NFL power rankings, ranking every NFL team in 2023 from the worst, number 32, to the best team in football. These power rankings are utilized to help me bet on games every week in the NFL. Gronk spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for every week NFL power rankings here on the BLV every Tuesday. Comment below your opinion, where I'm right, where I'm wrong. If I'm too high on a team, if I'm too low on a team, definitely open to the conversation. And I almost always respond. So let me know in the comment section below my first power rankings of 2023. Let's give it a go. At number 32, the worst team in football still, I'm not changing my position, is the Arizona Cardinals. I understand they were more competitive than we thought they would be, even against the Commanders in Week 1. They were playing a quarterback who his first start really ever, like he had one start last year in a meaningless game. Sam Howell's first start ever. Josh Dobbs actually has started games before. He actually started a divisional, contest to determine who was going to go to the playoffs last year. So he has a little bit of experience in this league. Sam Howell had never started. They were trying to take advantage of that. And their defense played a lot better than I would have thought. Gardeck, the Barbarian, played fantastic. Multiple sacks, huge play. Their only touchdown, I believe, was a defensive touchdown. Their offense definitely struggled, and I think it will all season long. I have to give Jonathan Gannon a bit of credit for what he was able to do, how he was able to prepare his team. This team fought hard. This team didn't listen to the outside noise of everyone saying they suck. And they actually came out and they were competitive against a team that I think is more talented than them. So I give the Cardinals a bit of credit because I at least see a team that's going to compete, that's going to play hard, that's going to make things interesting each and every week. And they could actually become a team that becomes underrated, undervalued, and perhaps a team that you bet on. Or they could become a team down the road that simply they just don't have enough talent, and that definitely is shown in these next few matchups. But we will see. They're a little bit better, at least after one game, than I thought they would be in Week 1. So they're the worst team, but maybe a little bit better than I would have thought. At number 31, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears might actually be worse than I thought they were, and everyone knows that I was the guy saying, Justin Fields is not that guy, pal. And I was telling each and every one of you, to not listen to the noise, not listen to the hype on Justin Fields. Because he's just not that guy. And then you look at the defense. The defense is absolutely the worst unit in the NFL after 1 week. They can't stop the run. Aaron Jones tore them apart. They made Jordan Love so comfortable in the pocket. They didn't get a single just sense of pressure on Jordan Love. Jordan Love was comfortable all day, composed, did whatever you wanted. I think he set up a coffee stand, a lemonade stand, whatever you want back there in the pocket. So comfortable. The Bears pass rush stinks. Their O-line stinks. Their coaching staff, not very good. So the Bears are bad. And I think that's real. They're the second worst team in football, in my opinion. At number 30, the third worst team in football. Another team that I wouldn't say they disappointed me. Their game pretty much went to expectation. They were close. They were competitive with Atlanta for most of the game. And then they ended up losing by double digits. Not the best showing by Bryce Young as a rookie. But honestly, you can't even really blame Bryce Young. He doesn't have a lot around him. The offensive line isn't very extraordinary, although the tackle position played pretty well for them, and I believe both of them graded out well after kind of a concerning preseason by Ekwonu on the left. The run game, Miles Sanders is average, right? Hubbard actually showed kind of a decent performance. The receiving core, not very good. They were led by Hayden Hurst. DJ Chark didn't play. Adam Thielen was invisible. Hayden Hurst, I think the fourth option in the passing game last year for Cincinnati, led the team in receiving. Not great. And the defense, yeah, they're competitive. They're decent. But they allowed Desmond Ridder to complete a lot of passes. And they were not great against the run in week 1. I understand Atlanta is a great running team, but not perfect from that side of the ball. They had the chance to win that game, and Atlanta's defense actually won the game for them. Jesse Bates, multiple interceptions. Bryce Young, couple mistakes, rookie mistakes. So, Carolina, not a very good team. I just don't see where they're exceptional. I don't see any unit that is above and beyond great. So, they're the third worst team right now, but they're in a tier of teams. There's a bunch of them that are kind of pretty close. At number 29, I have the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans definitely did not look great, but for a team with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback, I felt like they were at least competitive against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, they never felt like they were going to score a lot of points, but the defense played very well, I thought, against the Ravens. They didn't allow Lamar to stay comfortable and be comfortable. The run game for the Ravens didn't really run all over them. And they stayed in the game for longer than you would have thought. I think the score was a little deceiving. CJ Stroud, statistically speaking, wasn't half bad. He didn't make a lot of back-breaking mistakes. Yeah, he got sacked a lot, but I would also chalk that up to the Texans' O-line is injured, and they did not support him with the best offensive line up front. Obviously, they don't have the best receiving core, and that's going to be an issue all year. And they played a tough matchup where the Texans want to run the ball, and the Ravens are a good run defense. That's a big football team on defense. That's tough to go against in week 1 if you're the Texans offense. So, tough matchup for Houston, going to Baltimore week 1. I think all that being said, defense impressed me. Defense is something they can hang their hat on, and I feel that is going to surprise some people and keep them in games. DeMeco Ryans is living up to his promise so far in terms of being a defensive coach. I think CJ Stroud will continue to get better. He just doesn't have a lot of help around him, and obviously he's a rookie. He will make rookie mistakes. So they're at number 29 for me. At number 28, just barely, I could have flopped and flipped these teams. You've got the Indianapolis Colts. The only reason I have the Colts above the Texans, I thought their offense looked a bit better, more explosive, more creative, more fun to watch than the Houston Texans. I think the Colts defense wasn't horrible. Their pass rush definitely showed up in this game. I felt like DeForest Buckner had a game-changing play there. They had a screen pass on, I think it was 2nd and 28, went for a touchdown. So they had a couple explosive plays that kept them in this game and actually made them live as an underdog here. I felt like for a good portion of the game, I was worried. I had Jacksonville with the 5 points or -5, and I was worried about that cover. Like, the Colts made it a real possibility at home to cover that spread and win that game. Now, Richardson showed some promise. Athletically speaking, I thought from a composure and confidence and maturity standpoint, he looked good. From a leadership standpoint, the team seems to like him and respect him and want to get behind him as their leader, as their young leader, which is nice to see. The run game for the Colts, though, was gross, like awful, horrible. Deion Jackson, I think, ran for like 1 yard per carry. It was really bad. And the weapons outside of Michael Pittman are very subpar. They're going to need Anthony Richardson to do a lot as a runner this season to be successful. The defense in the secondary definitely got torn apart by Calvin Ridley, but that's going to happen. You know, Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. I was just a little bit surprised by how well the Colts hung in this game, and I feel like they could have easily covered. So I give them respect for that, but I don't know if they're worthy of being a favorite on the road versus the Texans this week. We will see. Next up, at number 27, we've got the Washington Commanders, a team that I just talked about with the Cardinals. I felt like maybe the Commanders underperformed, the Cardinals overperformed. It is week 1. You expect rust. But the biggest thing for me with the Commanders that was worrisome was their offensive line play. We kind of thought it wouldn't be great entering the season. They allowed, I think, 5 sacks to a really bad pass rush. So that's concerning. Gardeck had 2 of them. They couldn't block the guy. I think they need to make changes on the offensive line. Definitely, they need to think about their scheme and how they can better protect Sam Howell moving forward. But overall, I felt like Sam Howell played pretty well. They can definitely get more out of Terry McLaurin, more out of Jahan Dotson in the upcoming games. They need to get their ground game going. But the defense lived up to expectations. They didn't allow an offensive touchdown as far as I can remember. And their pass rush looked pretty good overall. Even the young guys in the secondary like Forbes, he was breaking on the ball pretty quickly. So I like how Washington overall was able to come out the winners. It wasn't pretty, but they got the win. At number 26, I've got the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings rank pretty low on my rankings because I felt like if the Vikings were going to be better than I thought this year, they had to at least come out and beat the Bucs. And I thought the Bucs would cover. I did not think the Bucs would outright beat the Vikings at home. That's concerning. The Bucs are probably going to be one of the worst teams they play all year. And yeah, the Vikings threw for a lot of yards. They totally outgained the Bucs, and it was unlucky. But here's the thing with the Vikings. They were totally lucky last year. That's what allowed their record to be what it was. They were the masters of one-score games. They came out on top time after time in one-score games. I will say, I thought their defense played better than I would have expected. I think they held Baker to under 200 yards. Rachaad White really had nothing going in the ground game. And the defense played a lot better than the talent would suggest, so I credit Brian Flores for that. But the offense turned the ball over too much. They didn't show up in the second half. Kirk Cousins, costly turnover before the half there. I feel like the Cousins of last year would have come through with a win here. Jefferson was huge in the first half, a little bit invisible in the second half. I just think they showed their holes. They showed their deficiencies. They showed that everybody thought they're overrated, and they are overrated. I have them at number 26. I think this is an overrated football team right now. At number 25, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers won this close game against the Vikings. Could have easily went to the Vikings. Like I said, the Vikings outgained the Bucs, probably outplayed the Bucs, offensively speaking. But the Bucs made enough plays on defense. Antoine Winfield Jr., Devin White, both with strong games. Felt like the secondary eventually figured it out in the second half. And the offense, Mike Evans still made some plays like Mike Evans always does. The O-line wasn't horrible in the game. So if Baker can continue to lead this team, not make mistakes, they're going to be in a lot of games. Todd Bowles, I think, had a good game plan. I think Todd Bowles did a good job. I will praise him when he is, sorry for the alarm, worthy of praise. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that absolutely scared me. I thought I just woke up from a nap. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are my number 25 team. At number 24, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are my number 24. And man, the Denver Broncos looked exactly how I thought they would look in a lot of aspects. Their defense was maybe a little bit better than I would have expected. I thought they did a good job against a good Raider offense. Now, it was Jimmy Garoppolo's first game back with Josh McDaniels. It was the Raiders' first game as an entire offense, Jacoby Myers, all that stuff. So I think the Raiders are going to be a really good offense. And I thought the Broncos defense gave them a chance in this game. They did a great job against Josh Jacobs. That was one of the biggest areas where they were very weak last year, was against the run. But they couldn't handle that second receiver. And I think that's going to be a problem all year long. Teams with 2 good receivers are going to give this team issues in the secondary because, let's be fair, Mathis is not maybe the greatest number 2 corner in the league. He's definitely going to be taken advantage of by guys like Jacoby Myers, who had 2 touchdowns, I think over 80 yards. And as well as Surtain did on Devontae Adams, I don't think that that's going to be, good enough for this team on defense. And their pass rush was definitely a little bit concerning. They didn't get enough pressure on Jimmy G to cause enough mistakes. They caused a big turnover in the red zone, but other than that, that was more Jimmy G being kind of an idiot Jimmy was pretty comfortable for most of the day, and on some of the biggest plays of the game, he was able to escape and make plays actually with his legs, which was concerning. Now, what was promising for Denver was Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson made some nice plays in this game and didn't really turn the ball over. He made a couple nice scramble on the move throws. He didn't make a ton of glaring mistakes. He actually had a couple big plays taken away from him. The one that I can remember is Philip Dorsett stepping out of bounds. That could have been a huge game-changing play for them. Javonte Williams looked all right coming back from the injury. Clearly, Denver didn't have much at wide receiver. They were rotating a bunch of different guys, including guys they just signed off the street. Little Jordan Humphrey scored a touchdown. Philip Dorsett was in the action. Like guys you've never heard of, Russell Wilson was throwing the ball to, which is definitely not great. But the O-line was pretty good for Denver. They had a couple moments where they allowed some pressures to Max Crosby. But other than that, I mean, overall, pretty good offensively. Sean Payton tried the onside kick early. I just think overall this team's a little overrated from a talent standpoint. I think Sean Payton will continue to tweak and continue to improve this team and continue to build upon what is working for this team, which I think is promising for Broncos fans. They'll be a lot more competent, a lot more watchable. I just don't think they're that good from a talent standpoint. So at number 24, I have the Broncos. At number 23, the New York G-Men. The Giants were awful. There's no way around it. They were absolutely terrible versus the Dallas Cowboys, which makes this ranking very hard and very difficult for me because I have so much respect for Brian Daboll, so much respect for Wink Martindale, but let's be honest, Brian Daboll did not have a good game. He could not figure out how to block Micah Parsons, how to block the Dallas Cowboys front, and when you can't do that, the game's over. It's in the rain. It's already hard to throw the football, and you got a great coverage unit in Dallas. It's just really hard. This is a really tough matchup. I kind of chalk this one up to, this is a tough matchup, bad weather for the Giants, and it got out of hand early, and they just were not able to get anything going. They had a great first drive. They got their kick blocked. Momentum swung. Dallas took advantage. Dallas is a great football team, and when you get behind and you have to play that pass rush from behind, you're just out of sorts. And I think what the Giants learned after week one is they have to play a certain way to win, and I think they knew that last year. I think they hoped for different in week one. They hoped they could protect better. They hoped they could be a better passing team. They hoped they didn't have to rely on the legs of Daniel Jones and the legs of Saquon Barkley. They hoped their defense would make more plays. But simply, this team is a lot closer to what we saw last year. A team that is average, that can beat bad teams, but will lose handily to good teams. And that's exactly what we saw in week one. And that is disappointing for Giants fans because they thought they made enough moves in free agency through the draft to be able to get better, but they're just not on the level of the Dallas Cowboys. So at number 23, that's what we clearly saw on Sunday Night Football. At number 22, the Seattle Seahawks, moving way down my list. I have concerns about Seattle. Injuries to the offensive line. They just signed Jason Peters, the old man. Hopefully he can come in and secure that offensive line and give a little bit more confidence to Geno Smith in protection. But what I've seen with Geno is every time he's pressured, he is not the same quarterback. Geno Smith's a good quarterback. He's an accurate quarterback when he's comfortable. When he is not comfortable, he looks a lot like Jared Goff. He's got to be protected to make those throws. And when he is protected, man, the guy's good. He's accurate, right? He's got the arm. He can make all the plays, just like Jared Goff, when he's comfortable in a system with good support staff. But when he's under pressure, when he's under duress, when he's blitzed, he is not the same guy. We saw that against the Rams. The offensive line of Seattle did not have a good performance in the second half. They lost both their tackles to injury. Tyler Lockett went out. DK Metcalf's got to maintain that composure, man. He lost it in the second half. That was not good to see. We need more out of JSN. Looked slow, in my opinion, in the first game in NFL action. Kenneth Walker looked great in moments, but they just weren't able to block for him for the whole game. The defense looked very concerning. The secondary will get better. I think the pass rush was extremely concerning, though. Draymond Jones didn't make enough of a difference. They weren't able to get after Matthew Stafford. The Rams were able to out-physical them, out-tough them. And it just felt like the Rams were the bigger, tougher, more physical team. They were ready to play. The Seahawks weren't. But what I'll also say about this is I'm not willing to overreact to the fact that Sean McVay kind of owns Pete Carroll. So I'm not willing to overreact to that fact. I'll probably be back on the Seahawks this week in terms of a bet as an underdog this week against Detroit. I think there's a lot to like about that matchup. But in terms of what we saw last week, it was not good. I think they will get better. I think they will turn this around. But there's definitely clear themes that were dating back to last year that are a little bit concerning, more concerning than you would have hoped. At number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers played a great football team in the San Francisco 49ers, and they got absolutely shellacked. They got dominated. They got abused. I mean, the 49ers were able to do whatever they wanted. The Steelers started the game thinking, okay, our front's going to be able to handle McCaffrey in this run game. We're going to try to play the pass, and they got ran all over. They tried to adjust to that. Purdy was just making play after play after play, throw after throw after throw. Brandon Ayuk was unbelievable. He burned them all day long, and the Niners defense just exposed the Steelers for what I thought they were. A team that I think will eventually have a good defense. It just wasn't a great matchup against, a really, really smart 49er offense with a great scheme and a great schemer at the helm and a quarterback that just makes all the plays and a great weapon group. Like, this is a really tough matchup for Pittsburgh's defense. They don't have the horizontal speed to match up, and they don't have the corners to match up, so they can't overplay the run. So we saw the Steelers defense not look as good as I think they will down the road. I think their pass rush is real. I think they will turn it around. But the offense is concerning. The play calling is horrific. The protection is bad. They can't block in the run game. Their run game's bad. I have to question if they should switch the left tackle position to the rookie first-round pick. Kenny Pickett was awful. He was under pressure, but he was indecisive. He was inaccurate. He looked terrible. So, and Deontay Johnson's now injured. I think this is a bad offense, and I think that continues from last year at number 21. At number 20, speaking of bad offense, the Tennessee Titans. I think the Tennessee Titans have an elite defense, near an elite defense. They have arguably one of the best front sevens in football, from the linebacker position with Al-Shaair, who showed up in this game, to Simmons, Autry, Arden Key, Harold Landry. All these boys, Tart, played phenomenal football against the New Orleans Saints. They dominated Derek Carr's offensive line. They dominated the run game of the Saints. They were an absolute monster to run against, to pass against. The Titans' front seven was ridiculous in this game. And I think they showcased their upside as a defense. I think it's going to be really hard and really, really tough to play against this unit. They are physical, they're tough, and they're well-schooled. Now, the offense, terrible offensive line. They can't protect. We thought that would be the case. I ranked them as the worst offensive line in football entering this year. And that's kind of what we saw. They can't protect. Now, are they decent in the run game? Yes, but bad protection accompanied by a bad Tannehill performance where he looks a little jittery, he looks a little old and a little regression, and then his receiving core just did not look good. DeAndre Hopkins looked not great in his first game as a Titan. Treylon Burks still didn't look great. So there's a lot of questions about this Titans offense, especially in the passing game, which are concerning. I think they'll be a pretty average team. I think in this division, they still got a shot, but they got a lot to turn around and a lot to fix on offense. At number 19, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders beat the Broncos as we thought they would. They went to Denver, which is a difficult place to play, especially in week one, given the altitude, given the environment, given the difficulties that is to face. And the Raiders were able to go up there and win this game. Impressive showing by Jimmy Garoppolo. The composure, the leadership, the confidence. And it showed throughout the game. Just time after time. Early in the game when he needed to make a play and make a throw and make a run, he did. Late in the game when he needed to make a throw and make a run, he did. The Raiders' offensive line was the highest graded pass blocking unit in football, one of the highest graded run blocking units. The Raiders' offensive line is the most underrated unit in football. Jacoby Myers looks like a fantastic addition for this football team. And Devontae Adams, he made a couple big catches in this game, a couple huge plays, drew a couple PIs that were difference-making, but he's going to do better in upcoming weeks. The tight end position is going to evolve. McDaniels is going to figure this offense out. The running game wasn't even good, and this team was still able to come out on top. That is a big sign for the Raiders because they're all about their running game last year. That was how they won and lost games last year with Josh Jacobs, and he wasn't really even at his best at times. The defense, though, I think was the real story. I think they played pretty well. Yeah, Russ made some throws and made some plays outside the pocket, but when they needed to step up and when they needed to on third down and in the red zone, they were very much improved in situational football, which is all you can really ask for from a defense that doesn't have the most talent in the world. So at number 19, the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see how they perform in Buffalo against a pissed off Bills team. At number 18, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are my number 18 team. The Saints beat the Titans, although there was one play in the game that definitely swayed towards a W for them where it looked like Derek Carr had fumbled the football and the Titans returned it for a touchdown. That was a highly suspect call by that referee. But outside of that, I think Derek Carr outplayed Ryan Tannehill. He made the throws he needed to make in the big moments, and that's something he wasn't doing last year. The offensive line looked concerning against one of the better pass rushes in football. They were getting eaten up and eaten alive in the run and the pass game. Chris Olave looked legit. I think the biggest thing for Saints fans to really love is that their defense showed up and played like it did last year. They were dominant in pretty much all aspects. Their coverage especially was dominant in my opinion. And Cameron Jordan looked like Cameron Jordan. Demario Davis looked like Demario Davis. Marshawn Lattimore looked like Marshawn Lattimore. That's great to see. I think Granderson had a nice game for himself. And the offense, I think the biggest thing to hang your hat on is Olave looks great. Shaheed looks like he's developed and he's going to be a good player. And then Michael Thomas had moments early in this game, especially. Juwan Johnson looks like he can do some things. So they've got some nice weaponry for Derek Carr to work with. And against lesser defenses, they're going to be able to score some points. So at number 18, I have the Saints. At number 17, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons win by 2 touchdowns over the Carolina Panthers. Impressive showing and impressive finish by the Atlanta Falcons. That's exactly how they want to play. They got multiple turnovers off of their new addition, Jesse Bates, where he was able to confuse the rookie quarterback Bryce Young. The offensive line was superb. The run game was great. Need to see more Bijan Robinson. But there are some concerns about this team. I think the biggest thing that you love to see is how well their defense played. But the offense. Desmond Ridder looks bad. He looked really bad in this game. The stats lie a lot. They barely allowed him to throw the ball down the field. Yes, he had a high completion rate. Yes, he completed a lot of his passes. The guy looked like he doesn't deserve to start in the NFL. So I don't know if Atlanta should consider trading for a quarterback, maybe even somebody like Ryan Tannehill if the Titans drop some games. But man, Atlanta could be a really good team. They just really don't have a quarterback. I feel like their offense is awesome outside of the quarterback position. Drake London got 0 catches. Kyle Pitts was barely involved. He made a couple nice plays. But Bijan looks special. That's nice to know. But they still won by 2 touchdowns. They are an ugly football team to watch. At number 17. At number 16, the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, I'm ranking them that high after week 1. I just felt like when you've got Matthew Stafford playing the way he did and you've got Sean McVay coaching the way he did, you've got to rank them in the top half. They just executed everything they wanted to. They ran the ball effectively. They ran the ball with 2 running backs effectively. Williams looked the part beside Akers. Multiple receivers stepped up without Cooper Kupp, right? This team won convincingly in Seattle without Cooper Kupp. Tutu Atwell stepped up big time. Puka Shell stepped up big time. You've got Tyler Higbee making a couple catches, Van Jefferson making a couple catches. The ball was spreaded around nicely. Matthew Stafford was a laser show in this game. Looked like prime Matthew Stafford, scrambling, throwing from different angles and platforms, executing the McVay offense. The O-line dominated. The defense, I felt, played really well, especially in the second half. They closed the door. I think their secondary played well, a lot better than I would have thought. And their pass rush really started to get home in the second half, led by Aaron Donald. So the Los Angeles Rams played a heck of a lot better than I would have thought at number 16. At number 15, I've still got the New York Jets. Now, if Aaron Rodgers would have played and completed that game, they'd probably be a top 10 team. But understanding that Zach Wilson's going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year, most likely, unless they pick someone up, which is hard to know right now. This is where I rank them entering week 2. The Jets are 15, just because their offense is going to be really, really bad. And that would have maybe been the case even with Aaron Rodgers, right? The offensive line looked dreadful. Like, Rodgers was under duress 100% of his snaps playing in those 4 snaps that he played. So, Aaron Rodgers was going to be under duress all game. And just a matter of time before he got hit, before he got hurt, to be honest with you. And I feel bad saying that, but that's just the case. The O-line stinks. Breece Hall looked phenomenal in this game. He had a couple of huge runs in this game, looking like the old Breece, which is nice to see coming off a major injury. Garrett Wilson looked the part, but everybody else, right? Tight end position below average, wide receiver position below average. Not what you want to see from this offense. Zach Wilson actually stepped in and made a couple of big throws in the game. Didn't make a key mistake, which is what Josh Allen did. And obviously, this defense is phenomenal. We knew that. They're a top 5 defense. They're an elite defense. They're in that category with the Cowboys, the Niners, and the Patriots. And that will allow them to be in a lot of games. And if Zach can step his game up, maybe they'll surprise some people, but they've got a really difficult schedule coming up. They're at number 15. At number 14, the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, like I said earlier, looked comfortable, looked composed. And he was a little inaccurate at times. He missed some plays, but he also made a lot of plays. He made a couple scrambles. He made a couple nice throws. A nice little just easy 4th down that he sees the angle route, the one-on-one to Aaron Jones. He hits Aaron Jones for a big play and a touchdown. The screen game was highly effective. And I felt like Matt LaFleur leaned into his strength. He leaned into the run game with Aaron Jones. He leaned into the screen game. And it was very effective. This was without Christian Watson. They put up a big-time offensive performance. And the defense looked good. Like, the front 7 looked explosive. It looked fast. And that's what you want to see. Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, these guys stepping up. Lucas Van Ness playing a role. Rashawn Gary back. Kenny Clark, right? They played well until really it was garbage time. So the Green Bay Packers look like a legit team that could go to the playoffs and even compete for the Lions with this division on the line, in my opinion. At number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. Definitely chargered once again, but they did play a good football team in Miami. I just felt like they got totally outcoached in this game by Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel coached circles around Brandon Staley from a defensive standpoint. I've heard people make excuses about the fact that Brandon Staley couldn't do anything here to double team Tyreek Hill. Bro, it's just called cover 1. Put the safety on Tyreek Hill, put the other guy in the middle as a robber, and just leave it. Why are we trying to let Tyreek Hill go for 200 yards? So, terrible, awful, no good performance by Brandon Staley. Horrible performance by the Chargers defense. They didn't get enough pressure against an undermanned offensive line. They couldn't cover to save their lives. And really, outside of one shining moment of J.C. Jackson getting an interception, it was terrible. And the offense, really ran the ball a lot better than I expected, and they looked like a complete balanced offense. Kellen Moore's still overrated, in my opinion. Didn't get Mike Williams involved enough for my liking here. Justin Herbert did not step up in the clutch where you need him to step up if he's making that amount of money. I'm sorry. I don't care. He's got to step up. And they couldn't pick up the blitz in the key moments of this game. So the Chargers, there's things I liked, especially the running game, especially the offensive line performance in the running game. But the defense, extremely disappointing. Brandon Staley, awful, should be fired. So at number 13, I got the Chargers. At number 12, the Jacksonville Jags. Jacksonville escaped a Colts team that looked like they were giving them a real problem early in this game. And here's the thing with Jacksonville. Definitely injured on the offensive line, and that made a major impact in this game. There was a couple plays that Lawrence could have probably made some things happen, but he was under too much pressure. ETN looked pretty darn good in my opinion. Calvin Ridley looked phenomenal in his first game back in a long time. Zay Jones played a role. Evan Ingram played a role. The defense, I felt like Tyson Campbell, huge clutch play. Josh Allen, 3 sacks in this game. So their key guys on defense stepped up and played really well. Their quarterback played pretty darn well in Trevor Lawrence. He did make a couple of mistakes, but nothing too major. And Calvin Ridley. So all their key components played really, really well. And that's what I can hang my hat on with this team and just say, okay, they were a little sloppy. The Colts catch them a little bit off guard in week 1, but they still came out the winners, which is impressive. And they covered. So at number 12, I got Jacksonville. At number 11, the New England Patriots. And I can only imagine what would have been the ranking if the Patriots were able to get 2 feet in bounds on the Kayshon Boutte 4th down attempt, because I think they would have won the game from there. And the Patriots outplayed the Philadelphia Eagles for 3 quarters in this game. They just did what the Patriots have been doing the last couple of years, which is shoot themselves in the foot against good teams. They threw a pick 6 to Darius Slay off the hands of Kendrick Bourne, and they fumbled the football. Zeke fumbled the football, which led to another touchdown. And as soon as you could blink, it was 16-0. After that, the Patriots dominated the game. Mac Jones had one of his best games as a pro, in my opinion, especially after the interception, where he was hitting throw after throw, dime after dime, in the rain, with 2 backup guards. Like, this is the promising thing about the Patriots. Jack Jones didn't play defensively. Devontae Parker, probably their best outside receiver, didn't play. And if he's in the spot of Kayshon Boutte for a couple of these catches, he makes those catches on the sideline. And then the guards, like, you've got 2 of your best offensive linemen, especially Michael Onwenu, one of the best guards in football, and Cole Strange, a second-year first-round pick. He didn't play either, and they were still able to weather the storm of the amazing Philadelphia Eagles pass rush that had 70 sacks last year. They were able to weather that storm. Mac was doing great in the pocket, manipulating the pass rush, stepping up when he needed to, avoiding the rush when he needed to, throwing the ball away when he needed to, but throwing dimes under pressure a lot. Kendrick Bourne looked like Kendrick Bourne as expected. He had a huge game, 2 touchdowns. Hunter Henry got back at it after a down year under Matt Patricia. And overall, this team looks like a team with a competent offense, like an average, maybe a little bit above average offense once they get their offensive line back, and a defense that's going to be absolutely elite. They stifled an Eagles attack that many people think is the best in football. So Belichick did it, man. Belichick is going to bring this team to success this year. They're at number 11 right now. At number 10, the Buffalo Bills. I'm not going to move them outside the top 10. Yeah, they lost the Jets, but a lot of people thought they'd lose the Jets. And to be honest with you, they lost because Josh Allen played like an idiot. And I don't expect that to happen too many more times in this NFL season. Yeah, Josh Allen has his moments. He's definitely erratic at times, but still, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. This was a bad matchup. It is a bad matchup for them from that standpoint, from the offensive scheme and the offensive talent standpoint versus the Jets defense. The Jets defense was made to stop the Bills. They're probably going to bounce back this week, Buffalo. Their defense actually played pretty well overall. I think their pass rush looked the part. They definitely dominated in aspects. And the Jets were scared to throw the ball in big moments in this game, which tells you what they think of the Bills' defense. So yeah, they had some weaknesses against the run. The linebacker position looks a little weak for them. But Micah Hyde looked like Micah Hyde. Tre'Davious White played a good game. The pass rush, Gregory Rousseau at Oliver, I think came through with some nice rushes. I think the defense looked pretty good with Sean McDermott calling plays, and the offense, they're going to get better. They're going to fix this. This is a tough matchup for them on 9/11 in New York. Don't overreact to this game. I think the Bills will still be a good team, even though they lost to Zach Wilson. But they lost to Zach Wilson last year, guys. They did, so that's just fact of the matter. At number 9, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins beat the LA Chargers. They threw for a ton of yards, over 400 yards. Tyreek Hill dominated. But, I mean, the Dolphins are going to beat every team that plays them the way the Chargers played them. If you're going to allow Tua to throw to Tyreek as much as he did, in as many key situations as he did, I expect the Miami Dolphins to win. I expect them to win. And I didn't really learn anything about Miami other than the fact that maybe their defense is a bit overrated. They allowed 200 yards rushing to the LA Chargers, who I don't think have ran for 200 yards since 2007. And they didn't get a pass rush in a game against the Chargers O-line that really isn't like an upper echelon unit until the very end when they started blitzing. So you combine a Jalen Ramsey injury with an underwhelming performance from the pass rush. I'm a little bit concerned about Miami's defense. And I think a little bit the offense was a bit of a mirage. I'm not going to lie. The Dolphins offense is really good. It's really talented. They will be one of the top 10 offenses in football, as I thought they would be. Are they this good? No, because I thought the game plan was so bad by the Chargers. So to me, it was more about the Chargers' deficiencies than the Miami strengths. That's why I have them lower than other teams at number 9. At number 8, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not giving up on the Bengals. I don't think you should either. Do I think they might lose against the Ravens? Yeah, they might lose against the Ravens. But this team started 0-2 last year. They looked horrible last year, right? They lost the Dallas Cowboys without Dak Prescott last season in week 2, and they lost the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Joe Burrow looked terrible, as we thought he might against the Cleveland Browns. He looks bad against the Browns in Cleveland every time he plays them. It's just what happens. It's one of those things. It's like when Tom Brady played the Saints when he was on the Bucs. He just looks like a different human. So I'm just willing to chalk that up to bad matchup. Moving forward, we'll see how Joe Burrow looks. Hopefully he can get back to Joe Burrow-ness in week number 2. At number 7, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens win. They cover at home against a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach and in the highest spread of the week. That's a check mark. I know it wasn't pretty. It definitely was ugly at times. Lamar didn't have his best game, but no Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman trying to get healthy, trying to get up to steam. Same thing is with Odell Beckham Jr. trying to get up to speed there. Zay Flowers looked absolutely fantastic. They already have some injuries, which is what concerns me. Marcus Williams injured, and then they also got J.K. Dobbins out, and I think maybe an injury on the offensive line. So some injuries that definitely concern me, especially the Marcus Williams one. The J.K. Dobbins one I don't think is a huge deal. He's a running back, whatever. But I think the Ravens with Mark Andrews will look like a different unit offensively in week 2. And then defensively, I think they are very solid. And I actually liked what I saw from their pass rush. So at number 7, I've got the Ravens. At number 6, the Detroit Lions. They upset the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1 without Travis Kelce, without Chris Jones. You have to take that into account when you're talking about this upset. But it was still an extremely impressive win. But they looked exactly how we thought they would look. Strong running game, good offensive line. Jared Goff can make the throws when they're there. And the defense is a lot better. They're much improved in the secondary, a lot more professional, a lot more competitive. I think that will continue into week 2. A tough game where they have to go back home after a big win against the Seahawks team. That's going to be very angry. So they're expected to win that game. We'll see how they look in that game. They need more Jahmyr Gibbs in the game plan. I'm a little concerned about the number 2 receiver position. Without Jamison Williams, it's not looking too hot. They don't have a lot of speed there. Marvin Jones looked awful. And the defense, pass rush outside of Aiden Hutchinson could use some work. But I still think they deserve to be at this position at number 6. Entering the top 5, at number 5, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. I thought they were that impressive in week number 1. Their defense was just absolutely suffocating against an offense that many people think is one of the best in football, led by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. As much as it's a bad matchup for the Bengals, they threw for under 100 yards, right? They didn't allow a touchdown, the Cleveland Browns. That is so sick. And in the rain, I don't really care, right? Myles Garrett looked phenomenal, Defensive Player of the Year worthy. Zadarius Smith looked like Zadarius Smith, which is nice because he's getting a little bit older. Dalvin Tomlinson's a beast. Jim Schwartz really turned this unit around, and I'm expecting a huge season from the Browns defense. And then you add on the layer of Deshaun Watson just doing his job, running it when he needs to, making a couple big throws in the game. They're running the ball hard. I'm really intrigued by DeJuan Jones taking over for Conklin at the right tackle position. I was a fan of Jones coming out of the draft, but that is a loss in Jack Conklin due to his mobility and gifts in the run game. I think the Browns, man, are a really tough team because they can run the ball really exceptionally. They're great at the line of scrimmage on both sides, and that's going to give a lot of teams issues. They're kind of like the Eagles, who I have inside my top 3. The Kansas City Chiefs are my number 4, which I initially had the Eagles, and I moved the Eagles over the Chiefs because the Chiefs lost. The Chiefs, I'm not really going to move outside the top 5. Okay, they didn't have 2 of their 3 best players, and 2 of those players happen to be future Hall of Famers and the best players at their positions in the NFL. Point blank, period. They still almost beat the Lions despite having a terrible performance by Kadarius Toney, a pick 6 in the game. Multiple things go wrong. I thought what was impressive for the Chiefs is their defense looked really, really good. I thought their run defense held up until the end. Their pass rush wasn't half bad. And their secondary, I thought, was extremely impressive in this game. So really like what I saw from McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed. Their linebacker position was great. I thought Bolton played well. So wouldn't be too worried about Mahomes and company. I still think they're an elite team. The only thing I'd worry about is the secondary weapons in big games outside of Travis Kelce. At number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, the Eagles didn't play their best game. I do think they got outplayed by the New England Patriots. I do think they probably should have lost that game. And yeah, sometimes that happens. But hey, they won. They survived. They got enough pressure on Mac Jones when they needed to. Some of their new guys stepped up. Jalen Carter had a huge game in his first game against 2 undermanned rookie guards. I felt like their interior played exceptionally well without Javon Hargrave. Their safety position wasn't bad without CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I felt like the offense wasn't at its best. This is what concerns me about the Eagles. The offense maybe have been a little figured out. I think the Patriots have given a game plan to every other team in the NFL to replicate. Now, not every team has the Patriots personnel defensively, so not every team's going to be able to replicate it. The Eagles are still going to run over teams. The Eagles are still going to just beat teams with their great receivers one-on-one. But with teams that have similar personnel to the New England Patriots, I think the Eagles can be had because their secondary didn't look great in this game. And their offense without, just didn't show a lot of flair, a lot of creativity. They played it very conservatively early on, and they were fortunate to be in the lead because of the turnovers. I think the Eagles showed championship inner confidence and ability to win a close game here, but I also felt like they showed a lot of deficiencies as well. So I have them at number 3. At number 2, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys look like a dominant team, and quite frankly, these top 2 teams have separated themselves after week 1. Just 1 week of action, these 2 teams were so dominant, I have to put them in a tier of their own. The Dallas Cowboys had a ridiculous performance, perhaps the most convincing performance of week 1. They won 40-0 in New York, a divisional game on Sunday Night Football. You know how hard that is to do? That is so hard to do. And they looked good in nearly every aspect. The only aspect I felt like they kind of didn't look great was their passing game. But I didn't feel like it needed to be great, right? Dak Prescott didn't turn the ball over, didn't make any mistakes, and that was good enough. Early in the game when they needed to make some throws and make some plays, Brandon Cook stepped up, CeeDee Lamb stepped up, and they made enough plays. Tony Pollard in the run game looked great. They didn't have Tyler Smith on the O-line, still looked great. The defense looked unbelievable. The pass rush was ridiculous. Every play, it felt like they were in the backfield in the face of Daniel Jones. They were so fast to screens, so fast to the horizontal passing game of the Giants. Gilmore looked unbelievable. The defense just looked unreal under Dan Quinn. So they're my number 2 team. But my number 1 has to be the 49ers. They're my number 1 team entering the year. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. And then in a game where I feel like they're going to start slow, they're going to go to Pittsburgh, they're going to win, but it's going to be close, they blow the doors off the Pittsburgh Steelers. They run the ball. They're out physicaling the Steelers, a team that's built on physicality. They win the line of scrimmage. Their defense dominates despite missing a defensive coordinator, losing a couple pieces. Nick Bosa off the plane like a day earlier. The Niners were so thoroughly impressive. Brock Purdy was convincing, defeated all the haters in this game, and Kyle Shanahan totally outcoached Mike Tomlin. The Niners have to be your number 1 team right now, and if it's not, you have to reevaluate. I think the Cowboys are a close second, but I feel like the difference for me is just how convincing the Niners offense was against what is expected to be a good Steelers defense. So, those are my power rankings for week number 1, post week number 1, entering week number 2. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, Gronk spike the like button and subscribe. It's Mitch. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.